Hey guys, what's happening? So for this one, we're getting back into Ultimate Spider-Man, where now we get to see Tony's first impressions on the Green Goblin, as well as the Kingpin, moving forward to assemble his team. So with that said, if you enjoy these videos, make sure to drop a like, subscribe if you're new to the channel, and don't forget to hit that bell up top to get all notifications so we can squad up in the comments for the first hour. Alright, so coming back, this takes us into August, with both Peter and MJ who are getting things ready for the kids' birthdays. Cause as it turns out, both Richard and May have their birthdays in August. But as they're heading out, MJ, she's trying to tell Peter that she thinks they're going to be late. But Peter doesn't respond because his attention is elsewhere at the moment. So she walks in the room and she tells him, since they're running behind, she just wants Peter to go with Ben and grab a cake and meet her and the kids at the birthday party. So Peter's like, okay, cool, but MJ can tell that his mind is kind of elsewhere at the moment. So he just tells MJ there's a lot that he's thinking about, and how it's mainly the fact that both of their kids are now 1 year older. But as they get ready to leave, there's a moment here where Peter reaches for his suit, and it reaches back. But he tells it no, not today. We have a brand new, very strict no costume policy at Parker birthday parties. And just before he walks out, it responds saying, well, that's disappointing. But tell the kids I said happy birthday. And this catches Peter off guard because he thought he had to be wearing the suit in order to speak to it or hear it speak to him. So the suit has a little fun with him by telling him that it's not talking out loud and he's actually imagining this. And it catches him off guard because he's like, oh, the suit got jokes too. So it goes on to explain this to Peter by telling him, I'm a perfect replica of your psyche, housed in a totally independent, completely adaptable pico shell. Of course I can talk. Oh, I can do all kinds of things, Peter. And you can tell Peter is kind of freaked out about this. So he tells the suit that he's got to go, but they're going to talk about this later. And already I think we kind of know where this is going. But next we go back to July, back when we saw Iron Lad show up at Oscorp Industries to meet Peter for the first time, check on his status, and answer any questions he might have. And the first thing Peter says is that he has questions about the suit. And it's kind of funny to Tony Stark because after everything that's happened, that's the first question Peter has. But Tony tells him because he lets him know it was the last breakthrough his father ever made. And he goes on to tell him, the Pico tech is revolutionary, way beyond anything I know how to make. When I was putting together packages to send back in time, I thought I should send it to someone who might need it the most. Something special for someone special. So for a moment, Peter's like, thanks, that's the nicest thing anybody said to me all day. As he points behind him to Harry and Otto and tells them, well, this guy's been punching me for hours while the other sicko just watches. But then Peter asks Tony, what makes me so special? And it's right there where Tony realizes that Peter doesn't have the information that he has as far as the maker's notes. So he tells Peter, you're special because you were at the top of the list. And right there, Harry's like, list? What list? And so Tony tells them there's a database that exists. When the guy who built this great society was eliminating all potential resistance or opposition, there was a handful of heroes he deemed mission critical to erase from history. They're the ones who had to go, top of the list. So right away, Harry and Otto are like, man, they didn't know anything about that. And at first, Harry, he doubts what Tony's saying, so he tells him, hey, you better not be lying. So Tony tells him, I'm not. But at the same time, he's looking at Harry like, well, who is this guy? Wearing a stolen suit of armor, calling me a liar. And things start to get tense here, but it goes up another notch when Harry tells Tony, don't worry about that. So Tony's like, okay, just before he removes Harry's mask, and Peter steps in like, see, it's not so cool when somebody does it to you, is it? Like, hey assistant, play mask off by Future. So right away, Tony, he recognizes Harry Osborn, and he tells him, you stole my birthright. So Harry leans in and he's like, actually, I paid for it. And I'm gonna tell you right now, if I was Peter, I'd have been like, uh-oh, move your furniture, the rich kids are about to squabble. But right away you can tell that Harry, he's bought into the perception of the Stark family being traitors. Cause it's almost like he has this chip on his shoulder where he believes that the technology's better off in his hands. So Tony ends up telling him, I went to bed one day, loving the world and seeing it how a child does, and then I woke up into a world of monsters and men, never again able to sleep so soundly. None of our fathers are perfect, especially mine. And I think that points out a huge difference between Tony and Harry, because only children believe that their parents are supposed to be perfect. So after this, Peter's like, alright, so what now? So Tony tells him, the Maker returns in a little over a year. Best get ready for him. But right here, Harry's like, where was I? Where was I on the list? Only for Tony to tell him, you weren't on it at all. Which, man, you know that had to hurt Harry's pride. Cause this whole time, it's like he's been searching for some kind of confirmation to prove that he's a better man than what his father thought he was. So next he hears about this list, only for Tony to tell him that he's not on it. So yeah, that's fuel for the villain arc. And after Tony leaves, Harry makes sure to tell Otto that they've got to upgrade the security to the suits. And from here, next we go back to the present day, with Peter, Ben, and J. Jonah Jameson at the bakery picking up the cake and the candles. And while Ben has a moment to talk to Peter alone, he tells him that he thinks Jonah's a little lonely. And it's really just the kind of thing where Ben's expressing his concern for a close friend, but they're not able to go too deep into the topic before the cake comes out and Jonah comes back over. Because when he does, Jonah asks Ben if he told Peter about the thing, which is really just Ben and Jonah telling Peter that the paper's officially launching next month and they want him to hop on board. So Peter pretty much gives them the same answer that he gave them last time when they first started, which is that he needs to stay at the Bugle because it's a stable job and he's got a family he needs to support. He's been working there for 10 years, he's got a 401k, and he can't just walk away from that. So of course with Ben hearing this, he's like, okay, well, it doesn't sound like a no. So Peter just tells him that he'll talk to MJ, and they just kind of leave it at that for the time being. And after this, when they make their way to the arcade for the birthday party, there's this one kid who's just all up in Jonah's face, like he's about to ask him, hey man, you got games on your phone? It's like, come on kid, we're at the arcade. Like, going somewhere. But everyone here's having a good time. Peter and Maeve got their dance competition going. But then it's here where we get this conversation between Jonah and Richard, where Jonah starts out by telling Richard that he's not really much of a party guy, and he only came out because Ben wanted him to tag along. And for a moment here, he's like, hey, don't tell nobody, but I think Ben gets lonely sometimes. And it's just funny how both him and Uncle Ben are saying the same things behind each other's backs, like they're both worried about each other. And I mean, it's possible there could be a bit of truth on both ends. But while Jonah's here talking to Richard, he gives him his birthday gift, which as it turns out, just happens to be a book written by J. Jonah Jameson himself, which first had me thinking like, man, this guy's a textbook narcissist. But then I thought about it and I remembered, hey, Richard, he loves reading. You can tell that this was something Jonah really wanted to give to Richard, because one, he only brought a gift for Richard, he didn't bring one for May, but then also he goes on to tell Richard how he reminds Jonah of himself. So you can tell that he really just has a soft spot for the kid. But this conversation doesn't go on too long before MJ calls everybody over to get some cake, and when she does, I can't help but to notice this secret war cabinet sitting right next to what looks like an incursion cabinet, and it just has me thinking like, man, I'm trying to find out where this arcade's at. But following this, we head over to Fist Tower, where we find the Kingpin talking to Mr. Wesley. And Mr. Wesley, he's a common character we often see around the Kingpin, who originally was like a lawyer who was just always around, though in some stories he just plays the role of an assistant. But in this case, he's kind of like Kingpin's personal Nick Fury, because as it turns out, since the Kingpin runs Manhattan, but in the larger picture he really runs all of New York. So he sent Mr. Wesley to go to the different boroughs to recruit the heads of the other 5 territories, so Wilson Fisk can assemble the Sinister Six. And among these selections, we find Martin Lee, aka Mr. Negative, Walter Hardy, the original Black Cat, Sergei Kravinoff, who's also known as Kraven the Hunter, Quentin Beck, Mysterio, and last but not least, Harvey Elder, Mole Man. And when they get there, the Kingpin shares with them files on both Spider-Man and Green Goblin, as he goes on to tell them, this city is mine. And what is mine, I have divided over the years and given a portion to each of you. But now it seems our city has an infestation. Some rats have forgotten their place. So Kraven asks about these rats, and he's like, hey, do you want us to catch them or kill them? And the Kingpin tells him, actually, I was thinking we can make a game of it, which right there just makes me nervous, because it just feels like we got a tragedy coming, because in this game, somebody's gonna lose. And now it's just a matter of who. And so now real quick, I want to give a special shout out to all the patrons. Thank you guys for all of your support. And for anyone who's new here, who wants more information on how to support the channel, I got a link below where you can go to patreon.com/DopeSpill. But that'll do it for this one, guys. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, and we'll do it again on the next one. Alright, later.